Well, apparently, the Smash Brothers isn't real fighting game discussions are picking up again. So let's talk about fighting games and clear up what fighting games are. But first, if you find that you agree with my assessment, be sure to like and share the video so others can see it too. Wikipedia defines fighting games as a genre in which the player engages in close combat with an opponent, which can be either an AI or controlled by another player. Matches typically consist of several rounds and take place in an arena. While each character has differing abilities, but each is relatively viable to choose, players must master techniques such as blocking, counterattacking, and chaining attacks together into combos. It also mentions the distinction between fighters and beat-em-ups, being that the latter throws hordes of AIs at the player. Before we see how Smash Bros. Stacks up, let's look at the history of fighting games. Two of the earliest fighting games were Karate Champ and Urban Champion, slow-paced, extremely methodical games, with virtually indistinguishable characters fighting in small arenas with simple punches and kicks. This was followed by Street Fighter, that gave the player a single playable character to fight against a variety of unique fighters. It also included the addition of secret moves that could be executed with a series of directional inputs, and an attack button. As far as multiplayer went, you still had a single character you could use. Sure, multiplayer introduced Ken, but he played identically and was locked as the player 2 character. So for all intents, it was a single character, and each player had a choice of one character. So don't argue semantics, okay? From a game design standpoint, there was one playable character. The game was still slow and methodical, regardless. Then we got Street Fighter 2, that sped things up, included multiple unique playable characters, and made Ken a semi-clone or variation of Ryu. A bug in Street Fighter 2 also allowed for combos, something that was considered to improve the game and became an intentional mechanic. For many, this was the first true fighting game, but in reality, it was just an evolution of the genre. Many games focused on refining the Street Fighter 2 formula to be faster and more complex and fluid for many years. Other fighting games cropped up as well, like Soul Calibur and Virtua Fighter, that tried to adapt this formula into 3D. Then, at almost the same time, two companies tried to take a step back and simplify this formula without making it methodical again. Simply making it something that newcomers can easily learn by adding some light platforming flavor to the genre. However, both came to different but similar results. One, calling itself an arena fighter, was Power Stone by Capcom. The other was a little-known game called Dragon King: The Fighting Game, which actually has a slight resemblance to Smash Bros. So seeing how the genre evolved, how does Smash Bros. Fit? It's a game focused on close combat between characters. It takes place in an arena, and stocks could even be interpreted as a sort of round, in the same way some fighting games have several health bars that are depleted instead of defined rounds. The characters have a range of abilities and special moves, and all are arguably viable. The game includes combos, blocking, dodges, and counters, and, well, you see, Dragon King: The Fighting Game was actually never released, and was actually the prototype of Smash Bros. So the series spawned out of a game with The Fighting Game in the title. Personally though, I think Wikipedia's definition is actually a little too specific. We've seen the genre evolve, and many of the earliest fighting games fit only one or two of the things that define a fighting game. I think a better definition would be a player versus player combat focused game that takes place within an arena and can be played by multiple players on a single shared screen. Combat includes a wide variety of attacks such as kicks, punches, tackles, weapons, and magic depending on the combination of buttons and/or directional inputs. And attacks can usually be strung together in combos. Fighters will also include defensive techniques such as dodging, blocking, parrying, or counterattacking. Matches typically last no more than a few minutes. So yes, Smash Bros. Is a fighting game every bit as much as Street Fighter or Tekken. Power Stone and Custom Robo are also fighting games. A lot of people bring up that Sakurai has said Smash Bros. Isn't a fighting game. But that hasn't happened. The only thing Sakurai has said, in many words and paragraphs, is he doesn't and never intended to make just another fighting game. He considers Smash Bros. To be more than just a fighting game, instead pushing the boundaries of the genre to evolve it and create something distinct from previous games. Smash Bros. Isn't a lesser fighting game or not a fighting game. It is an evolution of fighting games that can appeal to, be understood by, and cater to everybody. How would you define a fighting game? And if you disagree with my assessment, tell me the ways I'm wrong. If you agree though, expose other people to this video, okay? The original title was Dragon King the Fighting Game. Should Smash Bros. Be Smash Bros. The Fighting Game? Should Mario be Mario Brothers, the platforming game?